Hey guys, thank you for joining me on another video. Right now I'm going to be testing out a new Samsung Galaxy S21 that I got and see how it does with filming. There will be a part 2 that focuses on the HO scale trains, but in this video we're just going to be running all the N scale trains. Well, not all of them, just a few. We're going to start off with a short Amtrak consist that I like to call the Empire Builder. This is what it might have looked like during the mid to late 1990s, while some of Amtrak's equipment was slowly being repainted into Phase 4 paint. As it heads west from Chicago into Washington State, I forgot where the actual destination is, but there is a part where the Empire Builder is split in half. One train, I think, heads to Seattle, while the other part of the Empire Builder either goes to Portland, Oregon, or another part of Washington. Like I said, I can't remember, but you can find the facts on Wikipedia. And you'll also find that the Empire Builder was Amtrak's very first passenger train to use superliners, doing so in 1979. Superliners are still in use today, and I don't know when they're going to find a replacement, but I'd say about another 10 years because they are starting to replace Ampleats with newer passenger cars. I remember reading about it in an article almost 2 years ago, actually. We're going to get a couple more run-bys of the Empire Builder and we'll get a freight train going. Number 396 is in its siding with most of the train that we saw earlier. One of the Amtrak cars has been taken off to be part of this freight. Recently, I've had Union Pacific number 844 pulling my City of Los Angeles set, so I decided to change things up and have this engine pulling the freight cars for today. This is my entire N-scale collection of freight cars that work properly. Anything that is broken, I throw into a makeshift scrapyard to make things more interesting for the layout. That is what this siding is here for. And don't worry, everything over here is still working fine. Anything that isn't working, I just throw into here, because, scrap yards have, piles of stuff that don't get used. Anyways, enough about that. Let's get some juice going into number 844's motor and see how she handles this long freight train. Very good. We got some pretty good acceleration going there. I saw my friend Baltic 144 Productions running his N-scale model of 844 with 67 freight cars. So this is nothing compared to what I'm doing. Although I do have to be honest, I am much happier with my variety of freight cars here. What you saw there was actually lag. The train did not stop. It is working properly. It's just that sometimes this phone, when you're filming, has a bit of lagging issues. But, that's what happens with a lot of cell phones. But as I said earlier, I'm pretty happy with my collection of freight cars for the N-scale layout. Especially with the last car, I am using a Norfolk and Western caboose. Now that is actually from Bachmann, not Kato. Kato has some really cool stuff, but I do like to mix things up and go for a couple of other brands, especially when it comes to variety. Unfortunately, when it comes to Kato's N-scale freight cars, they are mostly just intermodal cars along with a couple of auto racks and hoppers. So everything that you see that isn't a auto rack or any of those hoppers is basically from either Athearn or Atlas. Let's get another view of 844 as it passes the elephant and the giraffe. They will be making a comeback in a new series coming out hopefully soon. It all depends on how many Lego Stormtroopers I get. It'll be the Bad Quality Adventures of Trains, based off of my FanPop article series, Trains. To the left is Mr. Baldwin, but I'm thinking of getting another piece of paper to turn into a megaphone and have it in blue instead of turquoise, because that's what Mr. Baldwin originally was. These two that you saw at the ending of episode 75 of the Bad Quality Adventures of Thomas and Friends will also be coming back. The engine to the left is Lewis, And to the right is Bloom. And the F40PH I'm going to name after myself Sean, because those are my favorite engines of all time. And number 844 will be named Marissa. She's doing a pretty good job with her freight, wouldn't you say? Not counting the caboose at the end, this train is made up of 19 cars. We're going to get one more run by, and then we'll be using something that I really love but haven't been able to use in a long time. And that is the streetcar. Now, I will admit I haven't been able to use this or any of my model railroading stuff in general because I've been very busy with work. Not just for pumping gas at Wawa, but also for filming Green Frog videos. As a matter of fact, I am heading out to Princeton Junction soon to get some more footage for Tri-State Highlights. There's a couple of other spots in the Northeast Corridor I want to get to as well. That will be New Brunswick. I always get that mixed up. I was just going to call it Princeton Junction. Then there's also the Metro Park Station in Island, New Jersey. And then a couple of other spots in New York and Connecticut. Hence the name Tri-State Highlights. Here comes the last run by of number 844. Number 844 in the freight is in the siding, and I put the superliners here that were previously there to make some more room for the freight. Normally this is for freight cars only, but for the sake of getting the video done faster, I decided to pull out the lazy card and move the two superliners here as opposed to just taking the whole freight apart. The streetcar is now ready. We're going to get started right now. The auto racks are also here because I had to make more room. I always like to have the engine stop right there just before the switch because it looks more realistic. I mean, you don't have an engine blocking the switch because it's just not something they do. Here comes another run by of the streetcar. Just like the Norfolk and Western caboose that brought up the rear of the train. That was purchased, that was actually a Bachmann model. I did purchase the streetcar for only $45. This was from the Train Pop Attic store in Bristol, Pennsylvania, about several miles north of Philadelphia. Great stuff over there. That's actually where I got the N&W caboose as well. So if you're ever in the town of Bristol or near that town, I highly recommend checking it out. Great place, great prices for N and HO scale stuff. They also have a few others bigger than HO, such as O or G. I really don't use those. With the exception of this is the only Lionel train I've got, and it's also the only O scale train I have. I've been running this around Christmas ever since I was a 4-year-old kid. Pretty fun, but to be honest, this is much more fun. Not only because it's cheaper, but it also takes up less space. I could literally make the Northland's entire layout with literally just half the room in this basement if I really wanted to. Northland's is pretty cool. I like all their trains. And if you're ever in Flemington, New Jersey, you definitely got to give that a try out as well. You might be able to buy a couple things over there. I don't know if they have model trains for sale, but they do have a pretty cool gift shop. It looks like the Flash got intoxicated, but everyone else is enjoying the run-by of the streetcar, with one guy sitting on the New York Central caboose. I'm thinking of having the caboose as a restaurant, for smaller people of course, because Legos, you can see they're way too big to go inside. The N-scale people would fit perfectly since the caboose itself is actually HO scale. There are no couplers on either side of the caboose, so I figured I'd just put it there. It would be nice to run on my HO scale layout, but I really don't feel like paying more money just to get more couplers. I'm already making plans to change the couplings on the 5 Santa Fe passenger cars. as well as the 080 switcher that came with the passenger train, and this Dash 9 that I bought to play Panzer for the bad quality adventures of trains. The streetcar has been running pretty well. I mean, I should hope so. I mean, I only bought it for 45 bucks. We'll get a couple of more shots of the streetcar doing its loops around the track, and then I will end the video. Part 2 with the HO scale trains will be coming out in a couple of weeks. I don't know exactly when, but I'll do my best to get it out as soon as I can. Until then, have a good day and happy Valentine's Day.